So if I had one song that played every time I walked into a room, I think it would have to be Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. I mean, it's a classic. I mean, everybody knows Stairway to Heaven. I don't care what generation you're coming from. And for me, it takes me back to New Jersey, where I grew up. And I can see myself right now in my room with my windows open and the birds singing outside on a sunny day. And I would just lay on my floor and I would just sing that song over and over and over again. And so it's a song with lots of memories and brings great joy of a time past. So I have been at RE/MAX Realty Consultants about 11 years, and one of the greatest parts of being at RE/MAX is the people. I love people, and so we've got a great staff. There are great agents that are wonderful to be around, and then Barbara is a wonderful person with so much experience in the real estate business. She was a lending business before that. So I always feel that if there's any question that I have or something that's a new experience that I haven't come across, or even if there is something that may be a challenge in a transaction that we are in the middle of and I'm not exactly sure how to handle it, I can always call her and she can always dig back to all of the experience that she has in the business. Mark, Josh, and Brian are great support. You know, it is a family business. It is a local family business, and I love being a part of that. So I really didn't have a dream when I was a kid about what I wanted to do when I grew up. But when I was in high school, I was working for a local cable station, and it just exposed me to things like television and production and all sorts of things in that nature, and it created an interest in me. I'm a creative person. And so after high school, I went to a university called Emerson College. It was one of the top 3 in the nation for broadcast journalism. And so I did that and went to Boston, and then began my career in television and was a television journalist for 16 years. I was working at a local station, and it was really hard for me to get pregnant. It took me 4 years to get pregnant with my son, Ford. And at that point in time, I had a nanny who was taking care of him after he was born. And so I was calling home every 15 minutes to figure out where he was because I couldn't get in touch with her. So I went into my news director and said, I don't know where my son is. Can I go home? And I had gotten all my work done that day, and she really wasn't happy about me leaving. And so it was a life-changing moment for me. 2 days later, I gave my 30 days notice, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I had felt that God was just moving me in a direction of something new, and real estate was one of those things that I just felt on my heart because I love helping people. I just think helping people navigate through the process of finding a home, whether it's buying one or selling one, brings a lot of joy. And as I've gotten older, I love helping new home buyers because they're just want to know all the information they can possibly get. And so you really feel like you're helping in a process of one of the most important investments of their life. And that's a great responsibility. Well, I absolutely love to travel. So my grandmother traveled all over the world when I was young, and she just created this interest in me. And so I have been very blessed to go to many places around the world, but I've also been blessed to go to places in this country. And one of the things that I think is one of my all-time favorite things that I ever did anytime I ever traveled was to parasail over the Tetons. And so we had a friend, she kind of encouraged me along the way because I was nervous, and she's like, come on, and I'm so glad she did. So you basically get a guy, your tandem, and then you run off a 12,000-foot mountain, and you just hit the cliff, and the parasail takes you up. And it was amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. I mean, it gives me chill bumps just talking about it right now. And you hit those wind currents and you literally you feel like a bird. There's no noise, the sensation is peaceful. And so you hit those wind currents and you just go up and you just follow them and they just take you. And of course, over the Tetons, I mean, really, I don't know, there really aren't words to just describe how magnificent that was. So a great joy, something I think is really cool, and I'd love to do it again. So I would think something that I'm really proud of that I've done in the last few years was we're sitting in a 1928 Georgian Colonial house, and we purchased it in 2019 My husband and I did. People who lived here for 42 years, and they really hadn't done much. It had all the original plumbing, all the original electrical work. And so it came in, and it was just a way to have a blank canvas. I'm a creative person, as I've mentioned. I was in television for a long time. And so I've loved being able to imagine and recreate or create. And so it was just a lot of fun to do that. We knocked out all the walls. I wanted to save the plaster, but there was no way. It was too damaged. It hadn't gotten air conditioning in this house until 1976, so that was why it was in such disrepair. But anyway, so the first step that we did was just to buy a house, and then all of a sudden you dismantle it. And that is kind of crazy. You're like, okay, let's go ahead and buy this thing and then take it apart. And so that's what we did, and I got a great demo crew, and they came in, and so we took out all the plaster. We took back the lath boards and went all the way back to the frame. We came out, we're sitting actually in an extension of the house. We added 1,400 square feet to it. We have a master on the main now. It was a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. And then what I did, since it's a 1928 Georgian Colonial, I didn't want you to come in and feel like you were walking into 2020. I wanted you to walk into something that was new, but all my bathrooms are, penny tile or subway tile, marble in the master. I wanted it to feel as though you were walking into the period of time that the house was from. And so everything in the house I designed or figured out myself. I learned so much. There was one time I came in and the framer said to me, "Ma'am, I hate to tell you this, but if you step back over here, you're going to see that the ceiling in your kitchen is bowed like the bottom of a boat. We need to take all of that out and restructure it." Well, I came in and it was all the way to the roof line. I called Mike and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And he said, "Well, you love big, tall ceilings, so aren't you happy about this?" I was like, "No." And then I'll never forget the engineer coming down the driveway, because we were getting ready after the wettest winter in 85 years. We were getting ready to start adding the addition. And so the framer gets here again, Mike, my friend Mike, and he's like, "I'm not attaching to the brick of the house." So Andy comes down the driveway with the city of Greensboro and says, "You got to remove every brick off the back of the house." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Every brick, everywhere you're attaching to it, it's got to go." And so Clay, Mason, came back, and he opened up the foundation he had just closed, and we started taking all the bricks off the back of the house. I mean, those kinds of experiences you cannot plan for. But I learned so much, and I feel like what I learned has actually given me so much that I can add to my clients and can help them do things that I didn't know how to do before that. So I'm really proud of that, and that's not something I usually say about myself. So it feels like a wonderful accomplishment to bring back to life this 100-year-old house.